Okay, this week I'm going to take a sidestep and kind of deal with the comment that got on the Blame the Nile video I made a while ago. So I had to double check, and the Blame the Nile videos I came across on YouTube almost 10 years ago at this point and everything. And when I checked, they weren't even on YouTube anymore, and they weren't even in the archives. And so for context, Blame the Nile made as a channel back in 2009, 2010, so early YouTube, that made a bunch of videos pretty much being highly critical of AA. So I'm kind of come at this from a mental health aspect, and of course I'm not a mental health expert at all. I'm always going to tell people go and get professional help and everything. So I have to kind of preface that. So when it comes to mental health, so just take what I'm saying as opinion and kind of okay, so this is opinion. Let me get some professional help with any and every mental health problem that I might have and everything. So, but like I said, with regards to Blame the Nile, I made a video about that. And that's one of my earlier videos. How it pretty much was my first step of walking away from the cult of AA, and now I unfortunately was in that cult for 2.5 years, or I say 2 years too long, because after 6 months is when I started coming across Blame the Nile, and I started actually questioning stuff. So I will in the descriptions and or comments list the link to the orange papers where kind of Blame the Nile was pulling stuff, and it's pretty much goes about debunking AA. So of course, if you want even more context, and go to the Quackaholics Anonymous channel as well. He does a great job of actually and he pretty much devotes his whole channel to basically debunking and tearing apart the literature and culture of AA, and why we in a sense need to do better for when it comes to approaches to substance abuse recovery. So now I have made a bunch of videos on things on the Phoenix program, rational recovery, reach out recovery, smart recovery, the secular organizations of sobriety. So those are all great alternatives to AA and everything. So check out those videos to kind of segue into checking out the actual organizations and everything. You do yourself a whole lot more and a better service by going in, getting into one of those programs that I mentioned, and you'll be able to get on with your life a lot quicker than if you were to join AA, because with AA you pretty much become dependent on the cult and everything. So you're basically and I've made videos on how you deal in absolutes, and again, and Crackaholics Anonymous has a bunch of videos, devotes his whole channel to pretty much exposing the fallacies of the whole organization and everything. So so I'm just kind of mentioning that here, so that way you can kind of get a much better idea and watch those videos, because you can get much more in depth in over the course of dozens, if not hundreds, of videos that he's done, versus me just here in a quick video and everything. So now with the orange papers, to kind of get back to that comment. So with not being able to find Blame the Nile anymore, the whole concept was to kind of expose the whole, like I said, kind of the hypocrisies and the idiocies of the cult organization of AA. So now my brother actually got me the handbook of Smart Recovery, and so Smart Recovery, all the other ones I've mentioned, other than AA, are in a sense science-based and evidence-based, compared to your basically your faith-based approach to AA. And so the orange paper is basically hey, look, you need to invent a quote by Herbert Spencer, I'm going to butcher it and everything, but it's pretty much on the top of the paper of the website that I'll offer, and it basically states that you kind of have to investigate and stuff, so that way you can be oh, okay, here we go. Because if you don't, you're going to be kind of holding your own intelligence in contempt and everything. And to blindly accept something like is what the whole Orange Papers are about, is to kind of get away from and what Herbert Spencer was getting at with his quote and everything, is we need to get away from this blind faith and blind acceptance of that this is like the like, with the accordance to AA, this is the way and only way, and you just gotta have that blind faith, and they gotta take a leap of faith, and all this religiosity that doesn't have any place here in the 21st century when it comes to getting better for mental with your mental health and everything. So, and of course, yeah, if you do mention all these alternatives to like maybe professionals, you might run into people like, well, no, AA works. It's like it's been around for almost 100 years, so of course it works and everything. The numbers I came across, like when doing like a good old Google search for success rate of AA, is like 7 to 8%. Now, the Sinclair method, I have heard that you're gonna have to double check this, but I've heard that the Sinclair method has a 78% chance of success rate. Now, the Sinclair method uses naltrexone, which is a medication. So if you use that in conjunction with like a smart recovery, which in a sense deals with like your behaviors and your thought patterns, your behaviors, like your and pretty much how you go about your day and everything. That in combination, using the Sinclair method with as an example, smart recovery, you would be able to move on with your life a lot faster. And now, of course, there are probably going to be people that in AA that are going to say that I'm going off the rails or something. Like, you just need to accept AA and go down there. Those are the type of people that have been in AA for years, if not decades, and have no intention of leaving. That's not the point of what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is for the people that don't necessarily want to go or need AA. People who want to find an alternative from the get-go, and or people maybe who've been in AA for 2 or 3 years, and they're thinking yeah, this is total hogwash, are looking for ways to get out. So this isn't kind of like, hey, look, you're looking to either get an alternative to AA from the get-go, or you're looking to get out of AA because you're finding no value in it whatsoever. So use this stuff plus my previous videos to kind of be like, okay, let me check this out, let me investigate, and that way I can find better ways to move forward with my life and everything. So with the blame denial, since I can't since it's not there on YouTube anymore, and I couldn't even see it in the archives anymore, I'll be giving a link to the Orange Papers, which Blame Denial kind of pulled on. So that way, you can kind of the viewer can be like, okay, so here's kind of what he's talking about when it comes to actually getting better with substance abuse, whether it's with alcohol or any other drugs or whatever. The whole idea of that is to basically put your substance abuse in the past and live a better life and everything. So now, someone like me, I can say now, of course, from personal experience, it's anecdotal and everything. So again, you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt, being anecdotal and everything. But I'm sure people pulling evidence and everything, plus me kind of giving my own anecdotal evidence and everything, can kind of oh yeah, okay, here we go. So your scientific evidence, when you look at the negative effects of alcohol and drugs it has on our physical bodies, our mental health, our relationships and everything, when you get into the science and psychology of that, and then you get into a concept of my anecdotal evidence, and okay, here's someone who's gone through that, and you can state yeah, as soon as I put down the bottle and actually started oh hey, instead of getting drunk every night, let me go to the gym, let me start eating healthy, and actually start taking care of myself, improving not only my physical health but my mental health. It leads to better relationships with friends, families, coworkers. Now, of course, that's not going to say that you're always going to be life is going to be grand and peachy, rainbows and unicorns and everything. You're going to have to deal with the pretty much the bread and width of the whole life, It's just a matter of like dealing with it without having to go and like getting drunk every time something like makes you happy, makes you pissed off. It's more about like dealing with the things that like that internal stuff. I'm like, oh, okay, so this is why this makes me pissed off and everything. Okay, let me see how I can work on stuff like this and everything. Okay, so this is the stuff that makes me happy. Let me do more of this. Like, yeah, now people will argue like, yeah, drinking makes me happy and everything. It's like, yeah, if you're getting drunk all the time, it doesn't make you happy. Substitute that like with me going to the gym. That's the whole like, oh, that makes me a lot more happier than getting drunk and everything. Plus, it has the added positive benefit of like an increase in my physical and mental health and everything. So that's the point of getting better. And with the orange papers, to kind of touch based on that again, to kind of like finish this off real quick, the orange papers kind of like will help expose that like when it comes to AA, you're not actually doing any of that. You're not like getting better physically, mentally, spiritually, or whatever. You're in essence replacing once one substance for actual something else. You're actually trading your, like, in a sense, alcohol abuse to become dependent on the AA meetings, because like the good old phrase, you if you leave, you're going to get drunk again. The only other alternatives are jails, death, and institution and everything. So, which is another point. If something like an organization like that needs fear mongering like that to keep you in, to keep you away from alcohol, you bet you would be a lot better served by going to like I said, Smart Recovery, the Phoenix Program, SOS, Reach Out Recovery, all the ones I've mentioned and everything. So I'll link the again. So I'll link the orange papers for people, so that way, in lieu of not having the blame denial videos anymore, we actually at least have the orange papers that you can pull up and be like and look at, and then they can start cross referencing all the programs that like I've mentioned that are science and psychology based rather than faith based ones. And check out all the videos that I've done on those. I mean, those are some of my early videos. So go back. We'll have to kind of scroll back to get to them, but go check those ones out for kind of context on like those programs and everything.